4 members present, 3 absent. There is a quorum. And the agenda was posted in timely fashion. Next item on the agenda is public comments. Having none. Communications. Consent agenda. We got the minutes of the June 18 budget workshop, special called meeting of the board. Minutes of the June 18th regular meeting, monthly financial report, renewal of the district workers' compensation insurance, and approving of the 24-25 adjunct faculty agreement with 4-H. Any board member have any item they want to discuss or pull from the consent agenda? Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion by Terry. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Next is information item, principals report and athletic director's report.
Hey, Ms. Seeger's going to give a quick update on the elementary and kind of where they are and what's going on. And then Ms. Harrell will have a quick one right after that. So.
Okay. All right. Well, the elementary is on fire. I have met with all of our staff members. I'm super excited.
That worried me when she said
Oh, okay.
On fire.
Yeah, so we are rocking and rolling. The teachers are down there working in the hallways, in their rooms, decorating. They're ready for kids already. I'm super excited. Everyone that I met with was so positive and so excited about being here and working with our kids. So this is going to be a great year. I'm really excited about it. Let's see. I have finished the master schedule, and I'm working now on pulling our instructional aids, putting them into the classroom more this year with the teachers, focusing on small group instruction so that they're able to, all the teachers working with a small group, they're able to pull a small group and give more time so the teacher has more time with her groups. So they will be in the classroom working with our students. I've looked at our data, and that's how I'm making my decisions on where to place them based on our STAR data from last year. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Seeger. Ms. Harrell?
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Like Ms. Seegers just said, we have finished our master's schedule for the secondary, and we have all of our student schedules. We appreciate Ms. Sanders and Ms. Chiquita getting those in, so we're ready for Meet the Teacher. We actually have started our summer band. Our leadership has met. We have our new incoming 8th graders coming up tomorrow. They're going to have a little cookout, and the full band starts Monday. So we're full steam ahead, excited to see that show. We're going to have a boost in our floral design program. We hope to hire a retired florist. Dr. Seegers is going to answer any questions about that later. Going to give us a boost, have some experience, and work with our students about real world stuff. So we're very excited about that as well. We too have changed some things in our schedule. We're going to have a full-time inclusion specialist that will go into our classrooms, because what we have done is we've looked at our students who receive special education services full-time in the resource classroom, and we've changed that to where they will go out into the classrooms for their social studies and most of their science courses. And so we'll send our inclusion specialists in there to give them and provide them supports in the classroom so they can be around their age-related peers and get that Tier 1 instruction from our teachers. So we're very excited about that. We also are super excited about offering pre-Spanish with our 8th graders this year with Miss Sprayberry. You know, us having Spanish on campus again is something that we feel like is really going to benefit our students. She has a lot of experience. She's been teaching for 19 years. So we're going to actually get to do a little pre-Spanish with our 8th grade. So they'll be more prepared to take Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. And we're just looking forward to what our teachers have learned. They've been through a lot of professional development workshops and all that good stuff, the Arby's training. So we're very excited to see all the new things that they're going to implement in their classes this year and stuff. They've been working really hard. We have our theme. It's going to be digging deeper this year, and that's exactly what we plan on doing. So very excited about it. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Mr. President, Board, I am excited to see how hard both principals are working on trying to make sure they give kids the absolute best instructional piece profile they can. And they are pushing kids into the classrooms in places that haven't been there traditionally. So That's the absolute best thing that can happen for kids. And so I'm excited to see that. I think we'll see the results for our kids as well. So.
Is there an athletic director's report?
Quick, just to update, athletics starts back on August the 5th, correct?
Yes,
Which
sir.
is throws me for a loop because it hasn't been that late that I can ever remember. And so, and just that the athletic handbook was in the board book for you to look at. It's the exact same as last year, no revisions to this year, so no reason to go into the different pieces of it. But just want to point that out that that's one that will be going out for the families here after tonight.
All right, thank you. Review the 24-25 budget, item 7.
Okay, I'll make it brief, but if anybody has any questions, certainly ask them. Tonight, what we're gonna look at really is, I guess, is the first review of the numbers. 3 weeks from now, we'll be looking at pretty much the final version. I don't expect the budget numbers to change very much. There we go. The only thing that could change, you've got a copy of this in front of you, but our revenue numbers. So I want to come get an x-ray. Our revenue numbers, you see the tax, well, what did I do? Here we go. The tax money and the state money. I think the combined total of those two will not change very much, but once we get our maximum rate back from the appraisal district, the tax number could go up or down, and as it does, our state money is going to go up or down pretty much to match it, because the state, in a nutshell, they calculate the total we're supposed to have and then subtract our tax effort from it and basically give us the rest of it. The bad thing is they don't calculate a big enough total to begin with. But we do have other local income of $243,000 and federal income, that's for some federal program of $60,000. Total income is $67,84,214. Then you can see the projected expenses. They're broken down by function and then by object code. And for those of you who have seen this more than once, you know that first column, payroll, is by and far the largest item that we have. Payroll, we're estimating at $4.5 million, just under 70% of the total budget will be spent for payroll. And then you can see the rest of the item, contracted services, about 11%, supplies, other operating, debt service that has to come out of the general fund, and some capital expenditures across there, all much lesser amounts. As you look down this column, also notice slightly over 50% of our total budget is for the instruction function. And that's really what we're here for, is to instruct our kiddos. And so we do have a huge chunk in instruction. The next largest item is almost 14% in maintenance. And we have to keep that number up so we can keep what we've got in good shape. So we're not having to do major expenditures later, rebuild or whatever. And then you can see some smaller amounts scattered down through there. There is 7% in extracurricular and almost 7% in admin. Everything else is like 3 or less. The total of all of the expenses is $6,743,325. That is a positive budget of just over 40,000 or just under 41,000, which is that's less than what we had this time last year for a positive number. But with the stagnant funding that we're seeing from the state and obviously increased cost, we had to work to get it to that point. But we are presenting to you a budget where the revenue will fund the expenses. Now there are a few larger ticket items that I've listed down below that. The retention stipend been paying every year is gonna cost us about $80,000. And that is forget $500 at the end of the first semester, $500 at the end of the second semester, if you're staying on. If you're not, you do not get it. It's just what it says, retention. But we'll wind up spending about 80 grand for that. We got 20,000 budgeted for additional band equipment. We've spent, if you remember, we've spent 40,000 a year for the last 2 years. Our band is growing. We've got to have some more equipment for them. And so we did cut that number down to 20,000, and hopefully the band will keep growing and we'll keep buying more instruments. We also are budgeting for a trailer for them to haul all this stuff in. The trailer that they have is, I think it's in pretty bad shape, but it's getting too small to haul all the stuff that they have. Dr. Seegers may want to address that in a moment.
It's basically just full.
But we're budgeting 30,000 for that. We're budgeting 50,000 to build a storage building out at the athletic complex, to be able to put all the stuff in, get it out of the weather, and keep it going like it needs to. And then we've added step 25 to our pay scales that you're going to be asked to approve here in just a moment. And the additional cost for that step is about $15,000 to the district. So we do have those kind of large ticket items that kind of are outside the norms that I just wanted to bring your attention to. Any questions on this information?
What's the difference in school admin and general admin?
School admin is like the campus admin. It's like the offices at each campus, and the general admin is this building.
Okay. The numbers that are broken out, are they also included in the budget?
Yes,
Okay.
they are. Yes, they
So
are.
like the band is part of the curricular,
Yeah.
extracurricular?
Yeah, the band equipment is part of this code. Well, there it is at 20,000 right there.
Okay.
And the others are, of course, the step increase is in the payroll numbers over there.
Gotcha.
The athletic building and the trailer are in this number right here. There's a line item in maintenance that's for purchasing large items, and so that's where they are.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I said thank you.
Oh, okay. Any more? Okay, we'll go to the next page. We've always broken out the food service, interest and sinking. We are required to budget those. First, on the left side of the page, the blue box, you see 24-25. We're projecting local revenue at 65,000. That number was 60,000 this school year, and we have exceeded it. And so we see no reason why we won't stay with the growth for the new school year. State money of 20,000, that was 16.5. The state is continually sending us money for supply chain issues. We're getting money monthly for the cost of free and reduced breakfast, that they're chipping in some extra money. That's all coming from the state. Then the federal at 203,000. We're not projecting very much of an increase there. That's the National School Lunch Program and National School Breakfast Program that it's actually federal money that funds through TEA. But that number is not going to increase a whole lot, because actually I forgot to call your attention to it on the other page. We're projecting our student count to decrease just slightly. And so with decreased student count, that number is not going to go up very much, because we're not going to have an opportunity to feed anymore. And that's what it's based on. The expense side, payroll is about 10,000 less than previously budgeted. That's due to some changing in staff. So that number's a little smaller. Supplies, that includes the food that they buy to cook. And you can see it's up 19,000. We all know what the price of food is doing, continually going through the roof. Actually, I believe we amended that number during this fiscal year to increase it. Then we've got 500 for other, and project spending 4,500 on capital items. That gives it a $80 positive. And you may be thinking, well, why don't we run it greater positive? If we take in more than we spend, the state's gonna make us spend it. Right now, to fall within the state guidelines, the state will allow you to have 3 months of operating expenses. And if you look on the monthly cafeteria reports that you get, that number's calculated in the far right-hand column. We need to spend about 26,000, I believe, right now to get within the state number, which it's a good problem because that tells you our food service is not taking money from any place else, it's making money. But nevertheless, the state will not let us just continue to build an excess in that fund. And so somewhere along here, if we should do better on the revenue side, we're gonna wind up having to buy some more stuff to satisfy the state. Then over on the interest and sinking side, you see the estimate of 220,048 for local. That is a decrease caused by the compression of the tax rate. I really think that number is going to go up when we get the final numbers from the appraisal district, but I want to be conservative and give you a higher number later instead of cutting that number. The 31,000 is the instructional facilities allotment that's coming from the state. That amount is still only tied to our old bonds. We won't get any money in this year in the instructional facilities allotment for the new bonds. So we're projecting almost 252,000 in income. We're going to need 392,000 to service the 2 bond issues that we have, and you can see that's a deficit of 141,000. Now we can be comfortable with that because of this number right here. When we took the money in for the bonds, there was 300,000 in that money that was ear tagged to get us through the 2 years without the instructional facilities allotment. We'll have, I'm thinking next year we're going to have basically the same shortfall, and so that's going to chew up that 300,000. And matter of fact, I was working on some documents for the appraisal district just a moment ago. Our fund balance right now in interest and sinking is basically 300,000 more than it was a year ago. But it's that money that's sitting there. But we're going to consume it until the instructional facilities allotment kicks in. Any questions on that? Pretty much there. One last screen. This is basically what's going to be published in the paper once y'all propose the tax rate and set the date for the final approval. You'll see last year's rate, our M&O rate was 7,575, our INS was 2,603, our revenue per student. Now our numbers to maintain the same is wiggling just a little bit due to increased ad valorem values. And you can see though here the per student local and revenue doesn't change very much. The bottom line is the line that's going to really matter. That's the rate that we're going to propose. Currently, our maximum compressed rate that the state's given us is at 0.755. I don't have a lot of faith that that number is going to stay there. I think when we get the final number around the 1st of August, that number is going to be a little smaller actually. But as it stands, we'll propose the M&O rate of 755. Interest and sinking is pretty well locked in based on the amounts that were approved in the bond elections at 2,603. And that will increase, again, due to increased ad valorem values. Our revenue per student is going to go up. Our state revenue per student is going to go down. As we've said numerous times, as our revenue goes up, they're taking some away from us and pushing it down. Anything else that you have?
So overall, the rate's dropping slightly, is that what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes,
From 101.78 to 101.53.
right. And I don't think it's going to drop dramatically from that, but I think once we get the final numbers, it's probably going to drop a little more. You know, I mean, that's the big thing in Austin is to keep compressing that rate. Anything? Okay.
We passed the bond issue, taxes are going down.
Yeah, yeah.
Magic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is consider and approve MISD meal prices.
Okay, Brandy did her worksheets, crunched them all, and getting ready for next year. She sees no need to increase meal prices or breakfast prices for our students, which is a savings back to our families. So, if we go a couple years, I haven't raised it, I think that's great. But she is recommending a 25-cent increase on our breakfast prices for faculty or adults. So that would go from $3.25 to $3.50 for this next year, and a lunch price increase from $4.75 to $5 this next year. And that'll keep us within our recommended guidelines for cost per meals and making sure that we're not giving away extra money, basically. So I do have a recommendation to approve the 25-cent increase for breakfast and lunch prices to $3.50 for breakfast for adults and $5 for adult meals for lunch.
All right, we have a motion to approve the recommended increase for the adults and then the same for the students.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Terry, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. We have all in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Consider and approve extra pay stipend schedule for 24-25 school year.
All right, fourth, as Tommy said in the budget presentation, I think it's his packet here, it's on your, in front of you. It's our same pay schedules that we had last year, with the exception of step 25 added in. And so that's just, did I miss the, oh, I'm sorry. Tell you, I gotta change glasses, it's killing me. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. We're gonna jump backward here. Extra duty pay schedule. So it's the maroon one. So, Lord, I'm due for new glasses. I'm actually dying, honestly. So, we're trying to keep the wheels on the bus here with my eyes. So our stipends for this next year, again, the ones that have no changes are still in the same color as last year. However, we did add some proposed stipends this year, and they are in yellow. With this assistant band director, we added, proposed the assistant band director stipend, $3,000, new elementary band stipend of $1,000, an esports stipend of $1,000 per semester, which is $2,000 for the year, and then also an additional 10 days for the new band director, which is the same rate that we give our athletic coaches. So what it does is we're trying to make sure that we take care of both programs. They're both UIL. We want to make sure we're doing the same for academics as we are for athletic programs. And then the other one, Tommy,
Isn't our band already on 11 months?
our band director is.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So
this-
this is our assistant band
Oh, this is
director.
for the assistant.
Yes, sir,
Okay,
this is
okay,
assistant.
all right.
I apologize for that. The security, okay, I see it. I see how, the security stipend, we've had that for our guardians at $1,000 a year. And coming off of our summer training, we realized we need to step our number of trainings and afternoons with them. And so there will be additional trainings that all of our guardians will go through throughout the year, monthly trainings. And so I've recommended changing that from $1,000 stipend to a $2,000 stipend to account for the extra time that's going to be built into keeping our guardian team up and going.
Where is that?
Yeah.
It's it's right under the esports stipend, so it didn't get highlighted on the word, but the dollar amount is highlighted. So those are the only changes to our extra duty stipend schedule as it relates to last year. Correct. Thank you, Tommy. Appreciate you keeping me on the right spot there.
All right, any discussion? We have a motion to approve the extra pay stipend schedule for 24-25 as presented.
I'll make a motion.
A motion, we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Consider and approve salary schedules for 24-25.
Okay. Again, this is the schedules that we had last year. Nothing has changed on these, with the exception of adding step 25. until we get to the last page. Tommy, we got our green,
Yeah.
that was for our teachers, prepares to serve in a teaching role, correct? And so we did have, both campuses had an individual that served as a paraprofessional that worked really in a teaching role for their campus. And we had a formula in here that where we paid them half of their time, their periods that they worked as a teacher, we paid them as a zero teacher rate, and for those periods, and then gave them their paraprofessional rate the rest of the time. What this does is just formalizes it, puts it in a schedule that standardizes it so that if we have a person serving in that, we've got a pay scale built for them that we don't have to worry about a formula to fit those needs. So this is just formalizing what we're already working on. So, and we had Crystal Osborne, who works for elementary, is our teacher. She serves half her day as a teacher role for them. And Kayla had Amber Shelley, who served in that same regard for the floral this last year. And so what that does is just puts that into a formalized piece there so that Tommy doesn't have to come up with a different formula. Now, before you take an action on that one, you remember a couple months ago when we talked about administrator salaries and schedules as well? I do have a piece tonight to talk with y'all in administrators executive session about. And if you want to hold off on this one, we can come out and put all schedules together. So that everything else has been in front of you, but the administrator one has not been in front of you. I'd like to have a chance to talk with them before just approve it. So
We'll come back
to that one. That'll be okay with you.
All right. Next item is discuss revisions to the student handbook for 24-25.
You want me to do that, or you want to do this, Andrew?
Well, I can do
You got it?
that. There's very few changes this year to the handbook. That's not being in the legislative session. There wasn't very many things that we changed. The few things that we have kind of updated is it's in our policy that if a student takes an honors class, such as like Algebra 2, and they do not pass the class, they are still eligible for extracurricular for 6 weeks, since it is a weighted class. So we've had that in policy, it just wasn't really spelled out too well in our handbook, so we did add it into the handbook to match how our policy stated. So that we did put that back in there. All right,
You're talking about for 6 weeks.
for 6 weeks a semester.
So if they come back and the next 6 weeks and fail it again, then
They're
they'd be,
ineligible.
yeah, okay.
Right. Just gives them one, because a lot of students, like in our dual credit, they don't get grades until the semester. So they're not really having to deal with the pass or play, and because of it, we don't have grades from the college. But if it's something they take here that's a harder class, we do give grades. So it gives them 6 weeks of a leeway.
Okay.
Since it is a harder class. On our drug testing, in the past, the way we've done drug testing is if students are in extracurricular, their name is in for the possible random testing. And this year it was added that also if you drive on campus, that you will be included in that list of students that could be tested.
Now, there is a motion below this to address that.
So that we've added in there. And then we kind of had an issue last year with tardies, with some students that were tardy to class multiple times, and it took a while for anything to really, so we kind of narrowed it down to where if you get 3 tardies, it's going to result in an absence. To try to cut down on kids showing up to class late or coming to school late. And we've had that in the handbook before, and I guess throughout the years somehow it just, it went updating, it got taken out. So we did put that back in to try to help with our tardy problem. So that's really all we have changed with
The weight behind that is probably the exemptions on the test
Right.
being affected. Okay,
Right.
makes sense. Thank you.
Trying to get them to come to school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good motivation.
It's the only way we make money if they come to
Well,
school.
that's what I was gonna ask, if the tardies are more in the morning, or are they midday in between
It's
classes?
usually before school a lot of
Okay.
times. We have kids that have a hard time getting to school on time. But yeah, and there are some throughout the day. They're hanging out in the bathroom or But for the most part, I would say it's beginning of the day.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
There's no action on this one.
All right. Consider and adopt the student code of conduct for 24-25.
Okay, the only change in the student code of conduct is on page 32. And I'll read it for you so you know the change that's in there. Dealing specifically with expulsion hearings. Oop. Sorry. The board delegates to the superintendent the authority to conduct hearings and expel students. So for our new board members, last year that read the school board. And so that puts the responsibility back on the superintendent to do that. And then if there is an appeal, then that would come to the board, which is typically what would happen in all disciplinary infractions or cases. If they go through a normal level 1 with the principal, level 2 with the superintendent, level 3 with the board. And this puts the expulsion piece back into a similar type situation. So that is the only change with a non-legislative year that we have into the student code of conduct. So that is my recommendation to approve that one as presented.
Any questions or discussion? Do we have a motion to adopt the student code of conduct for 24-25 with that one amendment?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Perry. We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. A presentation of the employee handbook for the 24-25 academic year.
Okay, and the employee handbook is the same as last year. The only thing that's changed is the names.
Take the innocent.
Yeah, just that's really it. And so nothing else will change. I do expect some stuff next year. It'll go through a legislative session. But again, that's not nothing that the board has to take action on off of the employee handbook.
Consider and approve Mod ISD teacher appraisal calendar for 24-25.
Just a second, Mr. President, as I get to that tab. So each year, we have to accept our appraiser calendar for key tests. And since we're dealing with contracts and with potential cases that could involve non-renewal of an employee or renewal, the board does set the timelines. So we have the orientation of T-test between August 1 and August 30. And T-test is the appraisal instrument that the principals use in communicating with each of our classroom teachers on their performance in the classroom. But the formal period for when they can start begins on September 18th. So it gives them a chance to come in, get their feet down, get all their pieces in. They'll work with their principals on setting up what it's going to look like when they go in for an observation, and then they'll go in and observe throughout the year. That doesn't mean they can't observe classes before that, and they can. And I expect them to observe classes before that. And so those count as well as far as appraisal instruments, but their actual formal documentation piece won't begin until after September 18th. And then we complete those by March 18th of the year of next year, and then we have our annual summative conferences by May 1st, which is by law has to be completed 10 days before the last day of instruction. And the only caveat to that right there is that if you, in the event that you decide to or feel the need to non-renew an employee, they have to have notice 10 days before the end of the school. And so that's the reason for that. So that sets our timelines for our T-test calendar for the year, and it puts it in basically black and white for everyone to know the expectations.
Any questions or discussion? Do I have a motion to approve the Mod ISD teacher appraisal calendar?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, have a second? Second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Consider and approve the teacher appraisers for 24-25.
Okay, these are the people that are the ones that observe the teachers. And this has been in the board book. For some reason, I don't have it on my paper, but I can tell you who they are. It's Miss Errol, Ms. Seegers for the campus level. They're the primary appraisers. And the secondary appraisers is Ms. Sanders and myself. And so the primary appraisers is our principals. They're the ones that we want to go in and, they're the ones that work with teachers day in and day out to improve performance, to document pieces there. But in the event that a teacher doesn't feel like it was a fair evaluation, they can appeal, and there is a process for doing that. And Ms. Sanders or myself would be the one that would go in and do that second observation. And so, but we do have to approve the appraisers for the year. And so that is the recommendation for the 24-25 district appraisers.
Any questions or discussion? Do you have a motion to approve the teacher appraisers as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
A second? I'm mixing it up here. Like it. All in favor? Raise your hand. It passes unanimously. Consider and approve the 24-25 district improvement plan as presented by Mrs. Sanders.
Okay, it's y'all's favorite time of the year. You always love this. We're not gonna go through all of it, because a lot of it is pretty similar to last year. For you that are new, we have to have a plan every year that is required by the state. We have certain money that has to be listed in the plan to show how we're spending the plan. There's certain trainings that teachers are required to do that has to be listed, saying that we're doing it. And then it also talks about different, parent involvement things that we're trying to do, ways that we're trying to increase STAR scores, how we're trying to help students that are struggling. So there's just different strategies throughout the plan that we have every year. So a lot of it has not stayed, has stayed the same, but on the second page you'll see where it lists our money. This is the money for this year for our different programs. Then if you'll go through, the first part talks about ways that we're going to improve our STAR scores, things that we're doing as far as disaggregating data, working with small groups with students, figuring out their areas of weakness and how we're working with them. Those are the different things that are listed. On page 5, one thing that we added a year or two ago is the state came out and said if a student fails the STAR test, they're required to have a certain number of tutoring hours. So we do now have to provide tutoring for students for each subject that they fail. The elementary does that during a win time in their schedule, and then middle school, high school does that during their tutorial period. So that is something that is required. Something that we did about 2 years ago at the middle school that has really helped, I think, with our middle school scores is we have made our 6th grade math and reading classes a period and a half instead of just 45 minutes. And then in 7th grade, they have 2 maths and 2 readings to try to help students with their STAR on that. And I think us doing that has really increased their scores in those grades. Page 6 talks about the elementary. We have required testing that's done at the beginning, in the middle, and the end of the year for our elementary kids. If they fall in a certain category, then they are required to receive intervention. And we have, a lot of intervention that goes on at the elementary. The next page talks about our special education, how we're required to monitor those students. Then on page 8, the very top one, something to brag about. We had our GT students this year. We have a program that's called Destination Imagination, and our elementary students went to nationals in Kansas City, which was a really big deal. I think they got 20-something out of, I don't know how many schools, but they, for us just to start it and to make it to nationals. Miss Wilson at the elementary has done really well at that, and since she's done so well, we've asked her to work with our middle school kids this year. So they're going to also come over and start the same program. So hopefully they'll be able to advance also. The next one on there talks about our dyslexia program, something that is new. Miss Seals is going through a training right now. We've been using MTA as our dyslexia program, and we are changing that to Flight. It's kind of the newer and more modern program that's out there. And so she is going through some pretty extensive training, and we will start that this school year. Page 10 talks about our CCMR, which you hear a lot about at the high school. This is where our students now we're pushing our students to get our certification when they finish certain courses. We offer certifications in welding, full design. This year we will start doing an Adobe certification in our business classes, and we'll also have a culinary arts certification. So hopefully by the time kids graduate, they'll have one of those 4 certifications along with all their courses that they've also taken. On page 11, probably the newest thing added to the plan was at the very bottom. Our school has gotten approved through TEA to be a P-TECH school. I think Texas High is the only other school around us that is considered a P-TECH school. And so we've gone through a long process and a lot of application and meetings. And so basically what that is it's going to, we've got a track now to where our freshmen, incoming freshmen who's starting the program, and they're allowed to, now we're going to offer them some college classes as a freshman so that they will have the opportunity to take more classes in high school. So I think we've got about 10 freshmen that have signed up to take the college class this year. We'll see how it goes, because that's a pretty young age to start it, so I don't know that they always know what they're getting into. So, but we are starting that, and there's different avenues you can go in P-TECH. We've started with one avenue since we're new. We have looked at possibly eventually doing something in the medical field, because we do have a lot of kids that are interested in that, offering more here for that. But for right now, that's our path we're taking, is just pushing down the dual credit classes for our freshmen. So we're excited about that opportunity for our kids. The next part just talks about the required staff development that we're required to do. We talk about all of the technology that we have on the campus. When you get over to page 15, it talks about our parent and family engagement. It lists just a lot of different things that we do here on the campus to invite parents onto the campus, as far as, meet the teacher night, fall festivals, extracurricular activities, Veterans Day, all kinds of things that we have up here for classroom parties, anything that we can do to try to get parents involved. That's all. We're always looking for new things to add. So it also lists, how we communicate with newsletters or through Facebook, through phone calls, through booster club meetings. Those are just the different ways that we try to involve our parents. And then on page 18, it talks about providing a safe school. That's one of our main important things, is providing a safe environment for the kids. It lists the different things that teachers are required to do, as far as the trainings that we're required to do, as far as, and also the students are required to do. Students have to go through a CPR training before they graduate. We do that in the 7th grade. Also, our seniors go through a public officer training. We haven't had that for very long, but it is a training they're required to do. It's provided by the state, that if you do get pulled over, how you handle talking to the police officer. So, they say it's very important that you may get out of a ticket if you just know how to act and not be. So it does talk about etiquette of getting pulled over and how you should act, and that is required that every student go through that. Page 20 just talks about our discipline, different things with discipline. How we do have an alternative school to where students that have the severe infractions, they do go to alternative school. And then at the very end, it lists our at-risk indicators. There's 13 of them. They're required to be in our plan. Each year we have to come up with a list of our at-risk students, and these are just you know, if a kid fails the STAR, if they've been retained, if they've been in jail, if they're pregnant or a parent. There's just 13 different ways a student can be considered at risk. And they're basically, it's just a list for us to keep an eye on to make sure that they're students that don't drop out of school. So, as small as we are, we already know students that we need to keep an eye on, so it really doesn't help us much, but that is it.
Can we voluntarily attend the how to get out of a ticket class?
Probably a lot of us could use refreshers in it.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I think they taught that when I was in school.
No, pretty good. So, do we have any questions or discussion on the district improvement plan? We have a motion to approve it as presented.
Oh my God.
Have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Item 17, consider and approve update to FNF local policy.
Okay, Board, this is the specifically dealing with drug testing. It was in the agenda last month. It's just an informational piece. But the change in it is extending to all students who drive a vehicle on district property to be eligible for drug testing. And so again, it's not an intention to try to catch students or anything like that. The whole point with the drug testing policy is to give an excuse to students. And so, you know, I have to.
So will it be a random or
It's
is
random.
it?
It's random. Yes, sir.
Just a,
Yes, sir.
one, how often?
I think we're every 6 weeks.
We are.
So.
Computer generated?
Yes, it's actually generated outside of the school. So,
Yeah, they actually send us the list. We don't even know who it is until they show up on campus.
and so it's just designed to, again, to give a students, hey, I'm going to be drug tested. I can't do this stuff. And so, and it is completely generated outside of the campus. And so, so it is completely anonymous to the administrators until the day they show up.
So what's the consequences?
So, okay, you're going to ask me a policy on that one now. The first time is suspension, I think, for 30 days. Does that sound right? Second time is suspension for, I want to say,
A year.
a year. And I'm drawing it between two school districts right now.
A year,
So-
and then I think
and then the
it's-
last one is you're out.
So that's school, not just driving privilege, is it?
Well, and we're
That's-
talking about extracurricular.
Right.
Extracurricular.
is what-
Oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So now we can tell them they can't drive on campus, you know. But a lot of times you end up with they may park at the church across the road, walk across the street. You know what I'm saying? So, but the intent of it is to give them an excuse not to partake in an activity.
Any other questions or discussion? Do I have a motion to approve the policy update 123?
No, 123, FNF local.
FNF local, I'm sorry, got ahead.
I'll make a motion.
A motion to approve the update to FNF, and we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Now we're considering approved policy update 123.
Okay, 123, again, was put out a month ago, and for you. So if you opportunity to look at it, there is an error in our 123 local update that I caught this afternoon as I read it. And I'll be honest with you, I've read the notes on it, and with the superintendent's eyes as they are, it's based on the district's security. This is on CKC local, which is our Guardian program. So based on the district's security responses, provisions regarding individuals authorized to possess firearms for emergency responses have been removed from this policy and have not been relocated to another code. Every time I've read it, I've read that's been relocated to another code, which is supposed to be CKEA, or CKE local, what it's supposed to be. And so it didn't register with me, but this afternoon as I went back through it one more time just to check it, it removed that program from our policy. So it will be my recommendation.
What it removed was Guardian Program.
And that's not our intention. And so somehow, you know, TASB works with lots of schools, and so, you know, they constantly put things in and out. And so I called a friend of mine and said, all right, what's your CKEA look like? He said, it's there. And then his CKC local looks like what ours is proposed for. So they did do some changes there to adjust the guarding parking, they've moved it from CKC local over to CKE local, because they had some stuff with CKEA, I believe, which was the dealing with police officers. And so it was supposed to move over one policy for the guardians. And so we can still adopt 123 with the exception of CKC local will keep our current policy. And then that'll give me a chance to visit with TASB next week, clean up that piece there and come back with a cleaned up version for our guardian program. But it will keep our guardian program in place doing that. So that was just a glaring error on my part there. But thanks to Ms. Holly and her attention as well, we're there, you know what I'm saying? And so, but looking at the rest of it, a lot of them are updates based on House Bill 3 and updates that happen with other policies within TASB as far as our local policies. So I do feel like the rest of them are spot on with what we need for the district, with the exception of CKC local.
So your recommendation is to approve the policy update with the exception of CKC local, which
Correct.
would allow us to continue the guardian
Correct.
program.
It'll keep our existing CKC local in place, and then we'll be able to come back and work with our policy consultant, get that piece built like it's supposed to be. And so we'll have to update CKC local
And then approve
again
it.
and update. I think it's CKE.
Yeah, it goes all the way through, I think,
Yeah.
E, I think.
I think it's CKE local. And so, but yeah, that's the difference. And so, because right now the existing CKE doesn't have that built into it. It's just it's real light. So it'll just be a change from this policy to over here and just moving it across.
Let's move it across and didn't move.
Yeah, it just didn't make it all the way across in our printed version. And so we want to make sure that we hold on to our existing program until that's corrected.
Okay. So we know with all certainty that by doing it this way, we maintain the
Yeah,
guardian program.
we don't get rid of our CKC.
Okay.
We maintain it, and that's where the board has the ability to say, we don't want this, we want it to be this way in our district. You know what I'm saying, and so that'll buy our time until we come back, and then we'll have a meeting on August the 6th. We can clean it up then.
And that's better than just tabling this and redoing the whole thing at the August 26th.
That's your decision as a board. I mean, we're gonna have to come back regardless, and so.
Is it gonna?
We're gonna be back before school starts anyway.
Yeah.
We'll be back for school.
Could we just table the whole thing?
Yeah, that's not a
Just
problem.
So it's not gonna hinder nothing by us?
Table it, no.
Okay.
No, we're still held with our existing policy.
No action on item 18? Or do we need to take action on table it? We're not doing nothing. Cool? All right, keep me straight there.
I'll try to.
All right, superintendent's report.
Okay, met with the architects and the construction team on Tuesday. Needless to say, after all of our redrawings and stuff, our GMP for the cafeteria was recommended at $6.4 million. So there was no way. And so we don't have a reason for a meeting on Monday because there's no reason to even bring that to you. And so, the bond was intended to build a new building and update the band hall. And all we would be able to do is create one building, which makes no sense. And so they have gone back with the engineers. They spent considerable time the last couple of days looking at how to change the structure of it inside. So they've been up to this point, brick and mortar all the way through it. They're moving to a suspended steel structure now, which the architects said will save over $500 million, and the contractors say, well, about $300,000. So somewhere in there is reality on that piece. The piece I really feel like is, I wish we should have started with this structure, because there's no reason to be extremely why would we spend more money on brick and mortar if we can get a metal building and then fix the outside to look like it's supposed to, just like it's supposed to look? And so it will be another version of this coming to us, but that's the only way I can see us, having a shot at building this thing is we got to draw back more money. And so that's where they are. So we're going to meet again next Tuesday, look at the updates to this point, and then we are planning to come back in August with a recommendation to you. And so it is back and forth, and I shared this with Melford. I said I feel like we're back and forth, and that's going to happen anytime you're in a building project. It just, we're still negotiating, fixing the final lines there. And so, but the intent is to bring this thing and bring us a cafeteria and a band hall space that we can do, and if possible, have some money to start a road project. And so that's where we are. And so I can answer anything on, best I can do on that for this point in time, but I can't see bringing you a recommendation at 6.4 million.
I agree.
August board meeting dates. So we are scheduled for August the 6th, which will be when we call the tax rate. At this point too, it looks like we'll also address any policy issues that are outstanding at that point. And then August the 27th, and that's the meeting to set the tax rate and adopt the budget for the next school year. Item C is our Safe Cycle 2 grant. So the district did receive a grant from TEA for $150,000 for Safe Cycle 2. Plan on putting about $120,000 of that into protective film on the front facades of the buildings. We have a few windows that are still not completely enveloped for someone decided to shoot them out. As far as TEA's guidelines, we're compliant because TEA didn't want to spend any more money than they had to at the time. But we have the opportunity now to completely enclose up front, and also on both of our campuses, any front windows that are related to the campus as far as the office, being able to access the building, close those off as well, so those are protected. And that'll leave us about $20,000 to $30,000 left over for any type of materials that we might need throughout the year. So it's a great opportunity to finalize the hardening of the exterior for mod, and mod is one of the few that's this well, and so I've done a great job getting it to this point here. So it'll just finish us up. And the last piece there is we did receive some revenue from Bowie County for foreclosed property. I think it was around $14,000, something like that, 14 and change. And so I just wanted to, hey, they're working hard for us to get some property back on the tax roll, create some more revenue for us, and benefit the district at the same time. That's really all right now, Mr. President.
Thank you. We're going into executive session at 7:29 p.m. Discussing Texas personnel according to Texas Government Code Section 551.074. Discuss and approve or consider contract recommendation of the following personnel: teacher, coach, and resignation from employees. Texas Government Code Section 551.074. We'll go into executive session and reconvene after about a 5-minute break. We back on? All right. We're coming back into open session at 8:07 p.m. The first item, we're going to go back to item 10, consider improved salary schedules for 24-25, which were the professional schedules, director schedules, and paraprofessional schedules.
And the administrators.
And administrators. Do we have a motion to approve as presented? Have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. And moving on to item 22, consider and take action on contract recommendations for hiring personnel. We have teacher coach Noah Fernandez. Do we have a motion to hire?
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Right hand. Unanimous. There's no action on 23, so next is item 24, adjourn. Do we have a motion?
I'll make
that motion.
A motion to adjourn, we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor? All opposed, stay, hang around. Passes. Thank you.